Thanks so much for meeting. Yeah, for uh, taking the time to have this chat today. I really appreciate it. Um, you're someone that I admire a lot in terms of how much work you put into your business and on social media. The amount of um, like your output is really unbelievable. The amount of consistent content ever since we met, and quality content too. All your edits were really good. Your your scripts, your calls to action. So it really looks like you put in a lot of work. So I wanted to pick your brain and just share with people how it's possible to have a really good social media presence. And I want to know how you do it so people can learn about that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to share my experience and from what I know. And there's obviously still, it's an ever learning process, but yeah, it's definitely learned a lot over the last 2, 3 years for sure.
Yeah, I know, right? It's been
Mm.
how long have you been doing this? Well, if you could just start off with who you are, what you do, and then tell me a bit about your story. Like what got you into fitness, and then how did you get into creating content and having an online business?
Yeah, so my name's Leonard, also known as Coach Lenny V on Instagram, all the social medias, and I've been a personal trainer now for 10 years now. So ever since stepped out of high school, just basically got straight into it. I think we all end up doing what we do based on our passions, our loves, and I have always had a passion for fitness. But then also, I think a lot of people in the fitness space might get it. Physios become physios because they've had an injury, or trainers become trainers because they've had some sort of insecurity. And my insecurities were largely centered around how I looked and my physique, and being bullied at school for being too skinny, too lanky. So that was what kind of really drove me, alongside my passion in all kind of sports and fitness, to kind of then pursue that. Fast forward 10 years of, or 9 years of one-to-one personal training experience in the gym. COVID happened. We were locked down in Sydney for what felt like 2 years. Probably wasn't quite that, but it felt like a long time. And
Hmm.
then it made gyms close. It made me start to think about, all right, what's next? Like when you're one to one delivering, time for money in a gym, you're limited by the amount of hours you can do. And you're also limited by potentially, the market as well of what you can charge. So there's always going to be a ceiling in terms of what you can earn, but also in terms of how many people you can help as well. So it was really just that next step of kind of identifying where do I go from this, and the fact that gyms were closed was the perfect opportunity to go. Well, I want to travel a bit. I've got a few online clients. Let's keep going in this direction and move purely remotely. And then, yeah, fast forward to now, 2.5, 3 years later, and here we are. So
Wow. So it was the essentially like the lockdowns and having your hands tied. The government saying you can't work, being like, "Well, I'm gonna have to start my own thing then."
exactly, exactly. It was a blessing. It was a curse. Like blessing in disguise kind of thing. Like the whole COVID lockdown situation for me in Sydney. It was something I resented so much back then, in terms of just being like stuck and not being able to work. But then the
Hmm.
opportunities that have come from it have been immense, and I wouldn't change anything about that time now in terms of what it's brought me moving forward. So been really fortunate in that regard.
Wow. So tell me a bit about like your fitness journey. Like, what got you into personal training in the first place?
Yeah.
Like wanting
So
to
kind of
offer. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
I meant like what got you into fitness and like wanting to teach people and help them.
It was very much. I've always, even back in high school, I've always found joy in helping other people, whether it be studying, whether it be, you know, building bigger muscles, whether it be getting better at sports. I've always found joy with helping other people and achieve something that I've also been able to achieve or learn. So it was a natural step with with what I was doing to in terms of my own building myself up, and then okay, well I love this, I love how this feels for myself. I want other people to experience this as well. So it was very much like it just fell naturally, and with my experience of what I'd like to do, just everything just fell into place. So yeah, it's been great.
Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second here.
Yeah, you're good.
My monitor was upside down. So
Yeah,
you
right.
kind of just had this natural calling to teach people what you learned through your own fitness journey. Like what were the things that got you into fitness in the first place? Like for me, I when I was in university, my first year, I was maybe like 140 pounds, and I had a little altercation at the park on a holiday. We were lighting up fireworks, and some like kids from school that were drunk, very very drunk, like sloppy drunk, started to get a little bit aggressive. And this one guy started to like want to fight me, and he kind of like threw some punches, and he didn't hurt me at all or anything. It was really stupid on his part because we ended up calling the cops, and he ended up having to do community service and all this kind of stuff. But it kind of got me thinking, like, wow, I need more size. I need more volume. I need to look physically, have a presence in front of people, because life is going to be like that, right? So it got me into fitness. In 8 months, I was able to put on 40 pounds of working out like 5, 6 days a week, eating clean, just bulking. And that was kind of like my journey into fitness. What was yours? Like, what got you into it?
Yeah, so kind of like I touched on briefly before, was in high school, probably would have been similar, similar. I don't know what pounds I work in kilos, but divided by 2.2, I was probably what, like 120 pounds or something, 130 pounds, something
Mm,
similar to you probably.
yeah.
And I was always tall. I've always been tall. I was like 178 centimeters when I was 13 years old. So like probably just close to 6 foot when I was 13. So you can imagine this like weird looking teenager, just lanky as heck, and
Mhm.
that obviously drew some attention to people, and how people are in high school, and people like to make fun of you. They want to like ruffle you up a little bit. So lanky dog became the phrase that people started to call me. So which was my real trigger back then, and for the longest time that phrase was just haunted me. So I was like,
Mm.
fuck it, like instead of just copying it, try to do something about it. It was never a physical altercation or anything that came my way, but it was always just that
Mm.
verbal abuse that I copped on a daily basis. And it was like, fuck it, let's just get into the gym, research every evening. Like, I had my homework and whatnot to do, but every evening from the age of like 14 years old, I was looking at bodybuilding.com videos,
Yeah.
YouTube videos, everything. And then, I was in the gym like every morning before school at the school gym. And then eventually that got to I've been working in gyms since I was like 15. It was that like when I
Oh,
started
cool.
going to the gym, they were like, oh, cheap labor. We could pay a 15-year-old to do the same job as an 18-year-old for like cheaper, and he can just go clean equipment and whatnot. So yeah, that basically led me into being in that space from a very early age. And when you're around that, and you're into it as well, you're around that space, you're around other personal trainers, it's like, all right, this seems pretty good. This seems like it could be for me. So uh, yeah, definitely it was. I feel like a lot of people in the fitness industry, they become trainers because of people bullying them. Maybe not feeling as secure as they could be in their own body, and then if they have a drive and passion for helping other people, then it kind of just makes sense to go and take that leap to become a personal trainer.
Yeah, yeah. When you were doing all your research, I'm curious, on bodybuilding.com. So you're familiar with Chris Gethin? I think he's Australian or from New Zealand.
Chris Gethin.
He
This
did a
sounds
lot
like
of
it rings a bell.
Keith. I may be pronouncing his name wrong.
Yes.
Steve Cook. He was another bodybuilding.com ambassador at the time. This was like
Mm-hmm.
before like social media marketing. Like I think he had like
Mm-hmm.
a YouTube channel, and he was one of the original people. What YouTubers and like
Yeah.
influencers back then were you looking at to do your research?
It's a great question because I don't know if you remember, but Mike Chang, six pack shortcuts.
Six
Remember
pack.
him?
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
went like he went AWOL for a period of time. Apparently he went off social media, but apparently he's back now. I haven't looked at any of his stuff
Oh.
recently, but I remember back in the day, like literally this would have been like 15 years ago or so. And I was like doing towel workouts around the house, like for rear delts, and I was like doing like these ab workouts, trying to get ripped. That was like the very first introduction, and then off the back of that, it was then more, as well as bodybuilding.com stuff. It was always like Mike Chang to try and get super ripped core, but it was more the bodybuilding stuff to try and build, abs and sorry, to try and build biceps and build a back and all the rest of it. So on bodybuilding.com, it was this guy called Jim Stepani. So these guys, I don't think they've got, I don't know. You remember him?
Yeah. It rings a bell.
And he would just like
Stefani.
the way that he actually edited his stuff and made his stuff was very much like that Sam Sulek that you probably maybe would have heard of these days. It was very much like
Yeah.
capturing him before his workouts in the car, drinking his pre-workouts, telling you about what he's going to do, why he's going to do it. And it was a longer format. And I would just be stuck at my computer for days just watching these guys on YouTube. I don't even think it was YouTube, just bodybuilding.com. And just being just fascinated with why they were so big. And then I was like, I've got to eat like them. They're saying they eat rice and chicken and spinach or whatever it is. I'm going to eat the same. They're going to do this for their workouts. I'm going to do the same. And yeah, it just is, it's just interesting how far, how different things are now in terms of what social media shows you, and how it's kind of gone almost like full swing. Like we've kind of got away from that long format, but Sam Sulek's like brought it back, and people are loving that stuff. People are loving it. Yeah.
Some of the guys I used to also watch were Chris Jones and Vince G from Physiques of Greatness. I think they're from Texas. And Matt Ogus, he's also American. Dana Lynn Bailey, she had some badass workouts. I'm not sure if you know her. She's a
At 45?
is it? No. What's the bodybuilding, like the pro card? IFBB.
IFBB, yeah.
Yeah, she's an IFBB pro. Mark Lobliner from Tiger Fitness, he was also putting out content. And like back in the day, it was like YouTube that was the main source, like you're saying, to kind of like grab that.
It was
info.
YouTube.
And like it was really cool to like peek into people's lives when they had like a day in the life and they showed you all the eating, all the training. And it was a really good way to kind of like, peek into their lives and get an idea of what that lifestyle is like. And now with social media, it's been broken down into bite-sized pieces. But yeah, I think long form is making a comeback. So I wanted to ask, like, how do you use social media and content marketing for your business?
Yeah, so basically, it's been from trial and error, honestly, from the start of it. We started making content. I say we, my business partner, Cooper, and I. We share roles in terms of what we do, but we started making content literally 2021. Yeah, it would have been 2021, and it was just rubbish. It was just, occasionally you fall on a good post that does well, and you're like, all right, that one does well, let's try and make it more like that. But then you go down a different rabbit hole and you start getting like 200 views on a reel, and you're like, fuck, what's going on? But essentially, we've dabbled with Facebook ads in the past, but as soon as I found we're just wasting money. We were just throwing money down the drain. And our approach ever since that has been like, all right, let's get our organic pumping. Let's make sure our messaging is on point. And then once we can get traction through our organic stuff, we know that that's working. Then we can look at Facebook again or any other paid ads. But at the moment, or previously, it was more like why just throw money down the drain when we haven't even got everything kind of down pat? So now that things are actually gaining traction, it's something we will look at for sure. But I think we just want to get a bit more volume at the minute because organic is working well and we can see it's working well. The engagement's spiked massively, but we just want to keep going down this path a little bit further. And when the time's right, then start to look at some more paid ads and stuff as well.
Okay, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Because we got asked a lot from clients and friends and people we have conversations with, should I be putting money on ads? And I always say, build your organic, right? Because you can have an ad, and an ad often will lead to a landing page, or if people want to vet you, they're going to go check out your organic. They're going to check out your pages. And if you don't have anything there, if you're not delivering quality there, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. Plus, there is a massive benefit to content marketing. Content marketing being offering free value, right? Give, and then ask to take, right? So putting out the content, giving that out for free, reiterations of it, right? Like, I'm sure if I watched every single video that you've ever put out, I'll get a certain percentage of the knowledge that you would share with me if I paid you, right? But the fact that you're giving it to me for free, maybe I'll be willing to pay for an iteration of your actual time and attention dedicated specifically towards me. So content marketing, has this huge benefit for business owners that want to kind of build that organic foundation, then put your money on ads, and then like there's no losing after that, unless you don't do the ads right. But I'm sure with some guidance, like that won't be a problem.
And it's also, I feel like, if you keep going at something, you learn from your mistakes. Like, we have no qualifications in marketing. We've got no, proper education, let's put it, in any kind of social media marketing, sales. But you learn from little bits and pieces here and there, and you do your best. But you learn a lot of the time from trial and error, and you learn from, okay, what's working, what's not working. Okay, this is working, let's do more like this. If this style of content's not working, then let's scrap that, because that's just fucking shit. So it's about moving into the direction that is working, essentially. And then Facebook ads, I think, it's going to be the same. Like, it probably won't work straight off the bat initially, but then once you tweak your systems, you learn from what's not working, I'm sure it'll work. It works for other people, why wouldn't it work for you, kind of thing. So, yeah.
So what platforms are you on now that you're publishing content on?
Yeah, Instagram's the main one in terms of where I find is the best converting, just with the systems, with the messaging options as well, like with Instagram. Having Reels is probably the biggest one, but the best thing obviously about Reels that you can use them for then TikTok as well. So I just upload the same things for TikTok. And then I'm creating longer form content. I'm doing a podcast each week, so for Spotify, and then we'll clip that up. And then, if I've done a good job, well, there's some clips to use for Instagram Reels again. We can, again, reformat it for the Reels. And then I'm getting my foot into YouTube, which it's enjoyable, it's fun, but it's a long process. Like, I severely underestimated the time that it would take to script a video, make a video, and then edit the video being the biggest, like, hours and hours and hours. And then once you've done all the editing, then it's okay, think of a thumbnail, think of a title, and it's it's a big process. So, but then the same thing with YouTube videos, you can reformat them for your Reels, and then it's engaging other content as well. So that's YouTube, essentially, TikTok, Instagram, and I guess things get shared to Facebook as well, but I think honestly Facebook's a bit dead with who's on there, and our market's not really on Facebook anymore these days. So a mixture of them, and that's basically it in terms of where we put our content out at the minute.
Okay. It's interesting you mentioned the market thing, because that's another question that comes up a lot. What platform should I be using? So like, briefly, what is your target market?
Yeah, so our target market is males 25 to 35, wanting to build muscle, drop body fat as fast as possible yesterday. So we do an
Yes.
intense 12-week transformation where I'm with them every step of the way. I'm telling him exactly what to do in the gym. I'm telling him exactly what to eat, and then how to make that sustainable long term as well. Because it's well and good walking away after a 12-week with a great transformation. You look good, you feel good, but then it's about giving them the knowledge within those 12 weeks to then carry that out for the rest of their lives and then continue building and building and building, because it's a never-ending journey, the fitness industry. And that's what I relate to my clients along the process. It's like, you've got to then want to do this for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're just going to go back, and you've got to find something that sparks interest, whether it be learning a new goal, new movement, getting stronger. And there's always something we can work on, whether it's, doing a triathlon or whatever it is. There's something that piques your interest, and then you can carry that on for the rest of your life.
Right. So then you find that your demographic then is on Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, or not Facebook as much. Sorry, TikTok, and
Yeah.
Facebook is more so dead for that demographic. Hey.
Interesting, yeah, because I feel like Facebook is a bit older population these days. It's where
Mm-hmm.
my parents hang out, and my uncles and my aunties and stuff. Like they're the only ones liking my posts on Facebook, and I'm like, Facebook's just like nah. Like, but whereas Instagram and TikTok, and that's, I feel like TikTok's a bit younger. TikTok, you get a mixture. You get people who are a bit younger and like high schoolers, but then also you get people, other business owners on TikTok as well. Like myself, I also use TikTok, so I don't think TikTok's a waste of time by any means. I think it's another place to kind of expose yourself, but I'm not sure totally on how the converting goes from TikTok. I'm this could be a limiting mindset, but I found so far what has worked for me, at least in the past, is Instagram has worked the best for converting clients, because you've got the easy messaging sections, you've got a link tree, you've got people are more familiar with it, and then and I feel like Instagram's a little bit older as well. It's people who are like ourselves, in our late 20s, early 30s, and they're ready to kind of take action. YouTube is a funny one, because YouTube is where I'm putting more of my attention these days, and it's because all guys watch YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
YouTube is taking market share away from these big companies like Netflix and Amazon and all these things. Like, guys watch YouTube. And the reason why guys watch YouTube, there's two reasons. They want to be entertained first and foremost. But then secondly, if you want to know how to do something, I don't Google how to do dumbbell fly. You YouTube that stuff. But I think that's mainly guys though. I've been like seeing someone briefly, like partner, and we were together the other day, and she was Googling how to do something. I'm like, why are you Googling how to do something? You YouTube that. I want to see it visually. Otherwise, if I'm not seeing it, I'm not learning. So guys are on YouTube. So yeah, I just put more of my attention there. And then again, we can reformat that to Instagram so everyone sees it. And if they see, like a promo, for instance, I'm doing like a promo on Instagram Reels, for instance, like I might do a fitness challenge, and then I would put the highlights on there. If you want to see more, go to YouTube, and then you can watch the full video there. So that's the plan of action at the minute, giving a bit of entertainment, but then also like teaching people how to do stuff as well.
Yeah, very clever use of the platforms. Honestly, you touched on that TikTok is not a platform that you get many conversions on. So I wanted to ask, like, how has social media and content marketing helped you grow your online business, specifically turning followers into leads? What are some of the things that you've learned about that process?
From turning what? Sorry, customers into lead,
Turning followers into
leads.
customers, or
Yeah,
leads or customers.
Yeah, good question. I've found so far on my journey that in order to purchase something from you, in terms of you want to do a 12-week transformation, something that's going to cost you, you need to gain that trust. You need to gain that trust, because if you don't have that trust, they're not going to buy from you. And trust is built over time. You can't just sell a 12-week transformation when someone's seen one reel. They're not going to fork out the money for it. They don't have that trust. So most of my clients at the minute are coming from people who know me. They went to school with me. They played football with me. They know me from my network of friends. They trust me because they've met me. They know that I'm a switched on guy. I can deliver a result. They've seen my testimonials. They've spoken to me. They know what I'm about. But when you get
Yeah.
someone who's cold, you need to warm them up. It's the same thing. Like if you meet a girl for the first time, you got to warm them up. They're not going to want to date you straight off the bat. You got to warm these leads up. Otherwise, you just scare them off. So it's we're creating a funnel at the moment where we're getting a free a lean bulk masterclass telling our client or our prospective clients exactly how to do what we preach, how to transform your body lean, like stay lean while also bulking and building muscle. So that's something that we're actively working on putting out in the next week or two, which has been a long process, but I'm fairly certain that'll be a very rewarding process. If someone sees a reel, for instance, and they're like, okay, I like this guy, but I want to see a bit more. So, okay, now you've got this option to then go and see this masterclass where we basically just tell you everything that we know, and we show our transformations, we show exactly what to do, the process behind it, and then they go, okay, well, I like this. This is for me. Then we call them, and then we convert from there. So, but again, we're starting to tap into it, and we've signed a few clients up who I haven't known personally over the last few weeks, and which has been exciting because now we're tapping into that initially cold market of people who are not friends, and then now it's like, okay, this is working. So let's keep doing more of the same. We'll still get friends and ex colleagues and whatnot along the way, I'm sure, but the cold market is where the initially cold market is where it's at. Tap into that,
Right.
the sky's the limit.
So then you are doing a mix of like reach content that's maybe a bit more quote unquote viral or easily digestible, and then a mix of content that's more so to nurture the audience that you have, and then content where you go for conversion and you have maybe a promotion and you can lead people into master classes where you can nurture them a little bit more into making a sale.
Exactly that. It's a mixture of content. There is a call to action potentially would be drop us a follow, because the more followers you have, the more reach you're going to get. Getting people to download, or not even download, getting people to go and use our free calorie calculator so they can get their calories, go and watch our lean bulk masterclass. But then also just, nurturing your existing followers as well, and just giving them value, and a mixture of that alongside, trying to get eyes on you, eyeballs on your content as well. So we've done a few things where we've, put people like, The Rock and Logan Paul, because that at the end of the day draws attention. Now, whether I think we've done that in the best possible way, I'm not sure, but at least we know that using these people, it gets eyeballs. So it's just a mixture of getting eyeballs and then nurturing them and actually providing value. Providing value is the biggest thing, because if you hook them and then you don't provide that value by the end of the hook, then they're not going to watch your videos for the second time or the third time they see your content. So what I'm learning is, you got to hook. If you don't hook, it's a shit post. But once you hook, actually provide something that they can actionably take away and implement in their next session or at home with their food or whatever it is.
Exactly. And that's what creates savable and shareable content, right? Providing that value, hook. I love how you're using influencers or relevant people right now as ways of hooking people in. I was having this conversation with a friend where I kind of, the way I see it is like if you're in a room of 100 people and they're all kind of dispersed and little groups start forming, maybe one group is talking about one topic and that group will have 10, 15 people, versus maybe another group will only have 2 or 3 people talking about another topic. If you want to talk to more people throughout the night, going to those larger groups and participating in those conversations that are relevant, that are attracting people, are a phenomenal way of reaching more people. And then those conversations will change throughout the night, and you may join different groups as you go. but sometimes starting your own group could be a little bit challenging at first. But joining the current conversations on social media is definitely a really good strategy to be relevant, for lack of a better word, right?
100%. Be relevant, be entertaining, provide value. Those three things. If you can tick those three things, I think that's the key to success, really, in the content game.
Yeah. How would you differentiate a piece of content that is meant for reach versus a piece of content that is meant to nurture? Like in part of your strategy of your way of doing things, how would
Yeah,
you make
okay.
that content differently?
Yeah, so a reach potentially is, again, using someone, like we said, like a celebrity person that is relevant in today's society. Maybe saying something that's a bit outlandish to kind of grasp that attention from a wider variety, get people speaking, get people talking. But then
Mm.
nurturing, I find, is, what protein powder should you buy? What is a life hack that's going to help you to build muscle? So all these things, you know, just the speaking about something and getting eyeballs is very different, I feel, to just telling him, what the best way to go about something is. So basically
Hmm.
sparking conversation and then just providing value, value, value. So that would be the main thing. I definitely am learning to just try and provide value with every post, because even if you are sparking conversation about something, you are talking about the rock, you still have to
Yeah.
provide some sort of value. Otherwise, again, you're probably not going to get that reach the second time you mention someone else. So yeah, that would be my biggest differentiating factor for sure. How about yourself? That's something I haven't really thought about really out loud, but I guess it's something what I do with my content without realizing.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
Definitely. I mean, we're kind of on the same page. Right now, we are on our second batch of creating content because our social media business itself is relatively new, though Jazz and I have been in content creation for over 15 years. But it hasn't been focused on social media marketing. So we've worked with a bunch of like brands, bunch of entrepreneurs. I can't even count how many clients, but it hasn't been just focused specifically on social media. So we're gathering all that, and now what we're working on is to be able to share that value and also blend it with that reach content. For the things that we find for us that work a lot is the couple, the dynamic duo or the power couple dynamic, because we've noticed that a lot of people like to see other couples. They like to see how other couples work together or function together, or their humor or their personality traits. So we're using that to our advantage. The fact that we are married, we have a business that we run together, tends to be what kind of attracts people in a certain way. So, like, we have a personal brand, but our brand is more so a shared personal brand on the Awake Abroad Media side. And we are
Mm.
now putting some attention into creating our own individual personal brands to diversify that. So I'm just gonna
Yeah,
check my
nice.
time here for the camera. Okay, we're good. So I wanted to ask you, because you tell me a bit about your recent trip. You were traveling Europe,
Mm.
and because you were here in Mexico, and then you told me you were going to go to Europe, and throughout the entire time that you were in Europe, you were absolutely killing it on social media. You were being consistent, you were being on top of it all. So tell me a bit about that dynamic of traveling and how you use that travel experience also to continue to create content and share it.
Yeah, so I've basically been away. I came back early December 2023 recently.
Mm.
And I've been away for 600 days on the dot, so just short of 2 years. So all of that content over the last bit of life was on the go. And, obviously in Mexico, I was there for a bit longer of time. And then there's been other countries where I've been there for a month or 3 months. But there's been other times where I've been, in Hungary for 3 days, and then Poland for 5 days, and then Scotland, in the Scottish Highlands for 5 days. So there's been more challenging times for sure, and definitely, like, the way to get around that is setting an expectation with yourself. Like, you gotta you got to be realistic sometimes. And at the moment, I'm posting every single day, potentially twice a day. But when you're on those, let's call it holiday mode, because
Mm-hmm.
honestly, my main goal at that moment of time was not to be working; it was to be enjoying life. And I think that that you got to have a bit of balance sometimes. But I was still posting 3 times a week. It was less, but it was still because it's funny that you say that because I actually thought I wasn't posting that often then, but
Mm.
now hearing you say it, well, I was. I just might have took it for granted. So definitely, what I've learned from that experiences was if I can be posting 3 times a week whilst on the go, then when I'm back in full force, like there's nothing stopping me now. And it's the same
Oh yeah.
thing with fitness as well. When I'm on the go around the world, at the very minimum, I was training 3 times per week. And for me, that was enough to kind of like, maintain. You lose a little bit for sure, but, just to get the basics in, the foundation work in. You maintain your customers, you maintain your physique. And then once you get back, full steam ahead. So whether that be in somewhere like Mexico, where you go, because you can settle yourself for when you're in a routine, for if you're there for 6 months, 7 months,
Mm-hmm.
in Munich for 3 months, in Bali for 2 months. So you can definitely establish a new routine. But then, it's what comes along with being in a new place, and you meet new friends, they invite you out, you want to see stuff, it's all new and exciting. So definitely coming back is there's less distractions. And honestly, and as a consequence, the business has gone like through the roof lately. So
Mm-hmm.
if anyone is like listening, wanting to have that balance between, starting an online business, but then also wanting to travel, just set you got to, if you're actually serious about starting a business, you want to be somewhere solid with a routine to begin with. Because if you're trying to do too much at once, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's the same, like, you really take for granted how, when you go to Cancun and back home, how much work involves around booking flights, booking accommodation, an itinerary, like and then time difference depending on where you're going, like all of that alongside starting new business and then starting your routine and then trying to be healthy. It's like it can be a lot at times. So definitely when you're starting out, having a bit of routine and stability is what I found is definitely the best to actually get to where you want to be.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. I feel like you said, if you have a business, you need to have a plan. But if you're going to be on social media, you need to have a plan and a strategy, right? And that's one of the things that I feel like a lot of people struggle with that are trying to have an online business is they don't know what they're posting about. They don't set an expectation for how often they should be posting, what to talk about. They don't have those topics laid out. So it actually does make it really hard. You end up kind of scratching your head being like, what do I even post today? Right?
Mm.
Because that expectation isn't there. So definitely having a plan, having that structure helps do that. And one of the things that I noticed that you did, which I thought was awesome. Okay, two things. One is you say something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, but you teach people how to get fit without giving up their social life, more or less, right? So throughout your travels, you were making some really, really funny reels where you're saying like, I'm gonna go out and drink tonight, but I still have fitness goals. So this is what I'm gonna eat. Or this is how I'm gonna manage my calories.
Yeah.
And you're out in different countries, like you said, meeting friends and maybe going out and stuff. But having that plan and being like, okay, how am I gonna make this work? And I found that really cool. So take me a little bit into like your creative process of creating reels when you were out in another country, and then you kind of get this idea. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and that's part of my niche as well. Is definitely because 25 to 35-year-old guys, they don't want to give up drinking in their social life for at least maybe a month or two. They're happy with it, but ongoing,
Mm-hmm.
people want that balance. It's unrealistic for me to tell people never drink again. So it's about understanding how to do it alongside getting to where you want to be. But yeah, definitely I try and be relatable with my content. I speak from personal experiences. I'm, from what's worked for me, what's worked for my clients. And again, like the reason why I don't target middle-aged women is because I'm not one. I
Yeah.
target 25 to 35-year-old guys because I am one, and I know what it feels like to be a 25 to 35-year-old guy, and I know what they like. I know what they like to do on the weekends. I know what they like to eat. You know, we like to have convenience with everything we do. We want things to taste good. We want to have a beer. We want to have a sesh, whatever it is. So it's just about being transparent with what I'm doing, and then actually as well, kind of walking the walk a little bit as well, and showcasing that I can do those things whilst also being in all right shape, and then people will think, okay, well it's doable, and if he can do it and he's being open about how he does it, then I'm gonna do it as well. So yeah, just that transparency with just being honest and open about what I do. I don't leave anything really, you know, like hidden and secret. It's just all my cards are on the table. Everyone knows. You ask me a question, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't care. It's just,
Hmm.
and people like that honesty, because when you're lying, when you'd be deceitful, because I've done that in the past. When I've done years of being on anabolic steroids, and when you go and lie, people know and people see right through that. So I'm like, well, what's the point of that? Just be an open book, put all your cards on the table, and since doing that, and since being totally transparent, you just build that respect way more, and that open relationship with people.
Definitely. I feel like, especially the case with the fact that you have a personal brand and you're at the forefront of your brand, right? It's Coach Lenny V. Like, it's you. So, um, in a way, like you're saying, it's almost like the niche is yourself, whether it's your younger self or your older self. But by being completely transparent about yourself, you can totally relate to that niche and be like, you know what? These are the realistic problems, these are realistic solutions, and this is the realistic lifestyle. And for anyone that's similar to you, aspires to be like you, or was like you in the past and wants to be like you now, like, it just communicates seamlessly with them. Do you find that?
100%, 100%. When you can speak from past experiences, but even also, like my brother and I, over Christmas time, everyone tends to put on maybe a few kilos, and I've just started dieting again. I've put on a little bit more pudgy than I would like to be. Obviously, not out of shape, but not in Instagram worthy shape, or I am now. but along that process of getting back to where I'd like to be, it's funny because you start to understand. Whenever I diet, I understand the problems more about what my clients, you know, their problems as well. And then when you go through that same process, you can then share it on Instagram. It's so funny the amount of
Hmm.
things that have come up over the last few weeks. We're like, that's a real. Write that down. Let's shoot that like next week or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
just going from that, being having that personal experience and then relaying that on, yeah, that's where it's at for sure.
Yeah. Nail on the head right there, for sure. The building a personal brand is like such an asset. I feel like that's the disconnect a lot
Mm.
of people have conversations with have. It's like they try to make their business something that it's not, and they fail to realize that, like, for example, one of the things is like, oh, I don't know how to make something unique, or make it, everyone in my niche has already kind of spoken about that. But the thing is, like, if you don't speak about that in your own words, in your own experience, then no one's going to hear your own unique way of it. You can be sharing the same piece of value,
Hmm.
but no one can share the exact same experience that you've had, and the lens through which you see and experience life, right? So,
Exactly. And I
yeah.
think I think also, like, when I started this whole thing, I was using my business brand as I was going under a business brand rather than a personal brand, and that was just getting nowhere. Honestly, like trying to
Mm.
talk through the business, you just don't have that relatability. You don't have that trust, and then ever since going towards Coach Lenny V, it's like, okay, I trust this guy. I don't trust the brand. Brands are harder to gain trust. But then now
Yeah.
everything's the same process. It's just people trust me, and it's like, okay, I'm working with Lenny. This is what I'm going to get, rather than a brand. So definitely that has helped massively. Um, yeah, more than anything, just going to the personal brand.
It's harder to start faceless brands now. I feel like the faceless brands are mainly like the large corporations, the global brands, like Facebook, Apple, and I mean, even smaller than that. Um, like a brand that maybe sells a specific product or something. But when you're selling services, digital products, courses, coaching, you
Mm-hmm.
got to have that personal, because at the end, people buy from people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And emotions and story, the best story is what gets the sale, not the best product. You can have the best product in the world, but if you don't package that with a story, then it's harder to convince people to buy it, even though it may have all these features or benefits. People want to see how things work through people, right? So
Yeah.
having that personal brand is just like, is such an asset to be able to connect with people. And like you said, like if, oh, hey, I'm working with Lenny, like that's what they think in their head, not, oh, I'm working for this insert
Brand.
company, right? So that's huge.
Mm.
Getting into like the content, I had a couple of questions. Oh, you told me that you post once to twice a day now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what type of content are you mainly posting?
Yeah, so we have a bit of a strategy where I sit down on a Monday and I basically plan out the whole of not the week that we're going to do, but the week following. So
Mm-hmm.
for the week following, I would then go and create all that content from the week that I'm about to do. So I would then go and do, a few reaction videos. So we're doing something that's potentially, you see some sort of fitness trend or something that's going a bit viral and then making a comment on that. Doing a podcast and then trying to get some clips out of the podcast, doing a tweet post, doing some gym reels. Gym reels are the biggest one for what I do. Trying to be in the gym, filming as much as possible, like showing stuff. Showing your advice and your opinions on things in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and then also like going into shops as well. Now, feeling like that's a really good one. Showing what to buy, what not to buy, what it's worked for me, what it's worked for my clients. So a whole range of things. Maybe a few memes as well. Just trying to be on niche as well, on brand, on the personal brand, still about like trying to make something funny out of not giving up your social life and still being able to get in shape with a trending meme. We did one the other day which was blew up. It's got like almost 2 million, probably 1.5 million views. Whether that's converting or not, no, but it still gets people on your account. Once you get
Oh yeah.
a good post, that's then the other posts around that are also then boosted as well. So, trying to get as many of those viral posts, those reach posts, which, if you want to call it that, to then help to boost the other stuff as well, which is more nurturing the client or the potential client and giving them value. So they've got a reason to follow you more than just it's educational, more than just it's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually, I did an entertainment video a few months back. It was me doing an Ironman with no training. And
Yes.
you saw that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I watch all your stuff.
Yeah. And the reach on that was insane. Like that did over 500,000 views in two separate videos. And then everything around that, usually maybe we're getting like anything between 2 to 5,000 consistent views on a video. But all the videos around that were like 20K, 30K, 50K. So it just showed, okay, well, that's working. Let's try and tap into that more. Can we do more fitness challenges? Can we create some sort of hype around things that we do that want to make people follow me, and for more than just providing value, but also because it's entertaining as well. So trying to get a mixture of that is where my head's at the minute. Because in that video, our followers doubled. Literally doubled, and net close to 5,000 now because of that one video. Really, it was crazy. So yeah, if someone looks at your profile and you've got 10K, 20K, 30K following, there's just that instant credibility that you're the shit or you know what you're doing. So definitely trying to get that bigger following through that kind of stuff as well is where my head's at with everything at the moment, and trying to diversify with YouTube as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit of a formula right there. Mixing the full transparency, which means that you have no cap on how you make content, which allows for creativity, and then the mix of also being controversial. Like I'm sure you have a mix of comments that are like rooting you on, and a mix of comments that are flipping you off. Like, how are you doing an Ironman without training? You know, some people spend months and months doing that kind of training, and then they watch your videos, and maybe you went out partying the night before, the night after, or something like that. Maybe not the night before, but the nights
Yeah, yeah.
previous. You know, you're traveling, and they're just kind of like mind blown. Like, how is this a thing? So that's a reason to stick around, watch, and be like, how's this guy gonna do it? I want to know.
People were
And
so
it
mad.
falls, yeah.
People were so mad.
And it falls right in the niche as well of like, hey, at the end of the day, I like you're in the fitness world and you're just showing people what you're capable of, really.
Yeah, that the challenge side of things is it's more about showing what we are as humans capable of. Because I think humans, we can just be a bit soft and wet at times in terms of what we think is we're capable of. But when you actually put your mind to something, we're way more capable than what we think. Whether it be
Oh
in
yeah.
fitness or even just being able to make a successful business. If you really put your mind to it, you can do it. But you've got to put the effort in. You've got to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You've got to put one foot in front of the other. You've got to,
Yeah.
you've got to see what works, what doesn't work, and then you've just got to keep going and adapting. So yeah, it's funny because, and I put a 75 hard post up the other day about my thought, or just getting people's thoughts about it, and it's the same concept
Yep.
like that mental resilience, trying to form that mental resilience, and once you know you have that, I've done my own version of 75. I've probably done a year of not drinking and training twice a day and, all that kind of stuff when I was like 19, 20. So I know that mental resilience. I've done it, with my business, with just these fitness challenges. You got to have that mental resilience because if you're not showing up, you're not going, you're not, keep putting one foot in front of the other, you're not going to get anywhere. So just, it's a good reminder at times to do these things because it just sets that I'm capable. It affirms to yourself that I've got this, I've got this, I've got this.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think where everything kind of gets married together is the fact that you're not just doing these challenges and keeping it to yourself, but you're documenting the process and you're sharing that. You're not just telling yourself, hey, just for my own proof, I'm going to do this Ironman without training. You're sharing it with your audience and saying, hey guys, I'm doing this. I'm going to take you along with the journey, and this is how I'm going to do it. Whether I succeed or fail, come watch and join me because I'm going to do it either way.
Exactly.
And being that transparent and bringing people on with the journey, on with your story, is extremely appealing for people. I think one of the things that I've noticed that draws people in is authenticity. I think, like you said, I completely agree that humanity can get a little bit soft, especially in the recent years. There's a lot of people getting offended very easily or having very strict opinions on things that don't allow them to think more freely and just kind of stick inside the box. And so therefore, seeing people embrace their authenticity is appealing, and then sharing like, oh, how could this person be doing that? Right? Well, I'm curious. And it's admirable from that point of view because some people lack that in themselves, right? So it's kind of like a mirror image of who they want to be or the things that they lack or the things that they admire.
100%. And if you get people who don't like you and they start commenting negative things, then I'm just like, I'm rubbing my hands together. I'm licking my lips. I'm going, well, this shit's working because to every person that doesn't like you, there's going to be someone who does. You look at any successful person over the history of time, anybody, there's going to be people who don't like them. There's going to be a shit ton of people who do like them. Even like, let's look at someone like Logan Paul. So many people hate that guy. But then you still got like 1 million views on all his episodes and whatnot. So, it's just about being yourself, trying to be polarizing, but still being yourself, not trying to be someone that you're not. And then once you can be that, authentic you, sharing that and not giving a shit about what people think. Because once you care, then that's when you stop posting and you give into it.
100%. Yeah, there's always a balance, right? The people that like you, the people that don't like you. And ultimately, the goal through social media is to get eyes on your content, eyes on your business, right? The more eyes you get, whether you're pissing people off or pleasing them, you are getting people to interact with your content. And I've seen it in the comment section before that you'll have one guy leave a negative comment and you'll have 2 or 3 guys defending and be like, oh, that's not true, I've seen the other content. And it starts discussions. And then they start participating in it, and it makes the content even more relevant to the audience, right?
Yeah, it's the Instagram comments or just comments on anything. It's a funny thing. If it's positive, then I'm for it. And if it's a discussion that they want to generally know, then I'm all for it. But if it's just toxic hate, then I'm just like I'm not even looking at it. I'm just zoning out. So it's a funny one because it can get people down when you see a few negative comments. My brother's a musician. He puts content out, or he has in the past. But then he's been negatively affected at times where he's seen negative comments and like myself as well. It's a learning process, but you start to filter that out, and once you can filter that out, you're unstoppable, really. Same thing when you're filming at a gym. I imagine most of your filming is done at home because you don't need to be at a gym or anything like that. But when you're at a gym in a public space, oh my God, you've just got to learn to just kind of be that guy. Because if you're half being that guy, then it's even worse. Because then people are like, oh, cringe, because he's not even confident as well. But then once you can just own it and take that space and just be like, this is me, like it or not, I'm gonna do it. Your content is way better, way better.
Oh, definitely. So how much time on average do you spend? Let's break it down. How much time do you spend on social media as a whole in a week? And then if you were to break that down, how much time do you spend ideating or scripting, recording, editing, and then managing your actual online profiles?
So I actually try and stay off the apps during the day, and it's easier said than done for a lot of people. You can set the timers and whatnot, but it's an easy just ignore for 15 minutes, ignore all totally together. But the thing that gets me off them during the day is because I'm a big football fan, like the English Premier League, and I don't want to look at the spoilers, so that I don't look at Instagram. Otherwise, I'm spoil the score for myself later on when I watch it. So I'm able to stay off the apps pretty easily for the whole day. But then obviously in the evenings, you can kind of reason to yourself it's market research, but you do get sucked in at times. But obviously when you start to follow people who are doing the similar stuff, you look at their hooks and what they're doing well and what you can use to kind of gain inspiration. But in terms of the total amount of time taken in terms of actually creating a script itself, I do a first draft of each post, which might take 20 minutes per post. And then there's that editing it up, cleaning it up, making sure there's, not doing any, just getting rid of filler words. And then that's another probably 20 minutes. Then you've got to go set up, which my setup, today was a bit of a shit show because it's a different place that I'm setting up. But usually I've got my space that I can just easily go on the couch at the back. So that's pretty easy setup. So it doesn't take too long these days, but in the past it did. And then creating that, and it's getting better. But when I'm a bit of a perfectionist in terms of, if I feel like I didn't pronounce a word as good as I could have, I'll take it again and again and again until I'm left with a 20-minute video, which I've got to then edit down to 30 seconds or 20 or 40, whatever it is. So then I'm like, okay, that's another 30 minutes. And then from that point, I've got this, so that I'm basically, an hour and a half per post is what I would kind of roughly say in terms of the making side of things. And then I export that, I upload that to Dropbox. I then get my business partner to go and then edit the captions, overlays, all the rest of it, sound effects. And he does a good job. And then he exports it, brings it back on Dropbox, and I've got that then to go and then write a caption. He creates a thumbnail, and then we post it. And then and then off the back of the post, you're putting it as a story, you're engaging in the comments. So I would probably say for one single post, you're probably looking at like 2 hours per post, at the least. So probably for my side of things. But then you take my business partner Coops, yeah, it's another hour and a half probably. So it's probably like 3.5 hours per post. And it's what people don't realize. And it's something I actually was able to understand quite early from the start is a lot of what you do, you're not going to get paid for it. You're going to do a shitload of marketing, which you're not going to get paid for in the slightest. But then,
Yeah.
You look at it when you sign a client up, that's my cost to you are, yes, I'm servicing you, but that's paying itself, like that's, the reason why I'm able to get those clients is because I'm putting in the groundwork, and I've put in the groundwork for the last 2 years. And, I was speaking to a few guys recently, and who just want to start up their own personal training, nutrition stuff online, and they're coming to me with their ideas, and I'm like, yeah, kind of in a way that'll be good, but there's just so much to unpack, and you've just got to. I mean, you can do internships and you pay courses and learn from people who have done it themselves, which is by far the best way to do it. Which I didn't do as much, and I definitely prolonged the time. But if you don't do that stuff and you're just going to go and do it from trial and error, like I've done myself, it does take a long time, and you've got to be willing to be shit for a long time to be somewhat all right.
Definitely. Yeah, like you're saying, you kind of have to remove the it's not, the word isn't expectation, but the concept that you're not going to fail, because you are, and you're going to be, like you said, you're going to be shit for a while, but just doing it will get you there. So yeah, in total, you spent quite a bit of time on content creation, but that's, building something great takes a lot of work. And I think that's the admirable thing. And also plays into the trust, all this content that we share doesn't get made by AI, doesn't get made magically. There is a business owner on the back end that is putting intention into all of it. And like you said, sometimes you're recording something because you pronounce it wrong up to 20 minutes until you get it right. But then from the consumption side, from the consumer side, it's easily digestible. It's focused, it's offering value, and it's changing people's lives. So definitely, yeah, it's a process, hey?
It's funny as well. As soon as you post something, you automatically see it with a different lens. It's crazy. Like the minute, as soon as you see it on your feed, it's like, oh, could have done that better. Could have done that better. That wasn't quite as good. That's all right. That's funny. Or that's not as, you really automatically, straight away, you see it from a different lens. And as long as you're looking at that and identifying where you could go better, like I honestly look back at, when you probably met me in Mexico, and my content then, I look back at that and I just cringe. I cringe so hard. I was like, my long hair, I just looked like a fucking done up. It was like, and it was shit content. And I'm like, where I've come from then, if I can have that same amount of progress for another year, and then another year, and then another year, forget about it. It's just about making that, adapting, getting better over time, being consistent. A lot of what I do and what you do is the same concepts to the gym, and this is why I think that the gym is such a good thing to do for everyone in life, because you have so many lessons that you learn. And one of my old bosses said that the gym is the only place where you want to fail. And I took that as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, and I was like, yeah. But the more I thought about that is like, no, like the more that you can fail in life, as long as you learn from that, the better you're going to be. You want to fail. You want to keep doing. You do. And that's the same, all these concepts from the gym are what you can take from other aspects of life and just, soar.
Yeah, having that end goal in mind and focusing on progressive wins, right? Progressive wins, accepting the failure as opportunities to learn. That's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
So what tips do you have for balancing running a business and managing your social. So you mentioned that you work with your business partner, Cooper, right?
Yeah.
I met him here in PV,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's a Coop.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned that he does some of the work. So do you do anything like outsourcing? I guess in a way, not necessarily outsourcing, but insourcing with him. Scheduling, like what kind of things do you do to balance your running a business and managing your socials?
Yeah, so we kind of have everything mapped out that on Monday, it's my client work and I'm creating content, like I'm drafting content. On the Mondays, he'll be going through podcasts, editing clips. He's always editing clips and doing the podcast. It's also editing, and then creating content alongside me, like helping like finalizing the drafts that I write, and we just make sure that the hooks are clean. There's no filler words, all that stuff. So we kind of everything is mapped out in my Google Calendar. So I know what times I'm making content, what times I'm filming content, what times I'm editing content, what time I have my client check-ins. Everything is like scripted to the T. That if I don't do that, then I'm running behind schedule and I'm chasing my back a little bit. So definitely having a schedule. Otherwise, you just feel like you get overwhelmed with things and it just becomes too difficult. But as long as you have a schedule, you don't miss things. You maybe do them like slightly later, but you get them done. It's the same thing. What I would tell someone who's consistently missing their workouts: schedule it in your Google Calendar. Schedule your content making, schedule your gym sessions, schedule your whatever it is. When you're going to eat, if you find it difficult to eat on time and the right things, schedule what you're not doing well or what you can get better, so you don't miss it, so you can perfect it. Otherwise, you're just chasing your tail.
That's it, man. 100%.
Mm.
So, okay. Wow. So Cooper does the editing. Do you both do the ideation or do you do the ideation mainly?
Good question. He sends me some stuff on Instagram. We have our DMs, and he'll send me things like, maybe you can comment on this, comment on that. Here's a meme. So we basically, when we call, we've got like a list. We just go through our thread and we go, okay, we can use this for this for this. So he'll help sparking some of the ideas. But then I also will then just go and do I'll see things throughout the week that I want to comment on, or I'm also creating those ideas as well. And then from there, I'll write them up, because when you get two people trying to write a script, it just doesn't work. We tried that.
Yeah.
So I'll write the scripts up, and then we'll clean them up together. And then, it's just me shooting it by myself, then, getting it to a small 20-second, 30-second clip where I'm looking pretty and smiling, and I don't trust him with that process, because he'll get me looking, pulling faces and shit. So I make sure I do that bit, and then I get him to do the post production, fix up, put overlays on there, sound effects, captions, all the rest, subtitles, all the rest of it. So it's a shed. Doing it by yourself would be definitely challenging. Having someone like yourself, like a team of people, or someone like Cooper, it definitely makes life a lot easier. Trying to do too many things, sometimes you take for granted. Marketing is a full-time job, but then you've actually got the job of servicing your clients as well. So trying to do everything by yourself is just a lot. So delegating where possible to people who actually are better than what you're going to do is definitely, there's so much value in that, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine I do imagine, and I've lived it, but doing that amount of work by yourself without any support, and still being able to run a business, still be able to stay on top of clients, be able to service them to the best of your ability, answer messages, new inquiries. If you don't have a system and a workflow, and that's systemized and scheduled, like you said, it's very, very hard to stay on top of things, right?
Definitely.
Do you use a content calendar for kind of pre-scheduling or pre-arranging your posts, or like you said, you just kind of use Google Calendar for that?
Basically the way that I schedule my content, organize everything, just in Google Drive. Whether it's the best way to do it or not, it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically write, okay, I've got an overview template, which I've got to then for each week get two of a supermarket post, three from the gym, two memes, two reactions, two podcast clips, maybe one humorous content piece, and one Twitter. So I've got to then write on the following pages, write up content for all those things. So then throughout the week, I'll have time. For instance, today after this, I'm going to go to the supermarket and film a bunch of content in there. Then tomorrow, we're going to go to the gym and film a bunch of content in there, which is all scheduled. And I've edited that. I've written up all the draft in Google Drive and Google Docs, and then I'm going to go edit that in Google Docs, and then make it to life, bring it to life essentially. So
Okay.
so your content schedule, your calendar. What do you mean by that? Like what do you do differently there?
Well, we use something called Airtable.
Oh
It's
yeah, I know that table.
it's like a data management software, not necessarily software, but like a website. But it has a calendar view, and it's really easy to categorize your posts by theme, category, topics, what platforms are going to be going out, as well as, because it's very customizable, as well as putting in your hooks, your captions, your calls to action, the purpose of the content, maybe what pillar it falls underneath your strategy, whether it's talking, I guess in your case, like you mentioned supermarket, so maybe diet, and gym, probably workouts. So kind of organize it in that way.
Yeah.
And you can also upload your media. So if you're collaborating with another person, then they can leave comments, or they can make changes or upload more media. And I find that's what we use with our clients and with ourselves to kind of manage it all.
And that keeps the quality, I would imagine, fully intact as well, similar to Dropbox.
Yeah. And I use Google Drive a lot too. In fact, sometimes we have like a lot of Google Drive storage, and we'll just put kind of the links into the Airtable if some of our content pieces are really long, very large. Rather than uploading it there, we just have it on Google Drive. But it gives us the ability to collaborate with our video editors, with our social media managers, and from our standpoint as business owners, to kind of have a bird's eye view of kind of everything that's going on for multiple accounts, and our own as well.
Yeah.
So it's been really very beneficial to do that. And before we did that, it was kind of like a mix and match of Google Documents and spreadsheets, and it was just kind of all over the place. So having it all in one area that you can kind of link everything into was like a game changer for us. Another cool thing is that you have a calendar view, so you can see exactly like what you're posting on what day at what time. So, and it doesn't get crowded with your personal calendar on Google. So
Yeah.
I found that really, really beneficial.
Yeah, nice. That's the same. I would imagine very similar setup to what I would do, but just on a Google document that I've got like a table there, and it's set. Yeah, but then just telling me on this day, Monday mornings I'm doing this post, Tuesday mornings I'm doing this post, Wednesday mornings this post.
Yeah.
So having that schedule like made for you, which you just don't have to guess. What am I going to do this day? What am I going to do that day? It's just there for you. Just keeps you organized. Once you're organized, it's much harder to fail.
Yeah. We there's an Aussie Instagrammer, photographer, filmmaker, creator. His name is Tom Nosk, and he's in I think he's in Melbourne. And we joined his cohort on content creation, building personal brands, and he uses Notion. He kind of introduced Notion into our world, and that's another one that's really, really powerful to be able to manage basically like your entire business, including calendars and content. It's been a huge game changer. Are you aware of Notion?
I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think there's a learning curve to be able to use it and create your own systems.
Yeah.
But there's also lots of systems that other people design that you can appropriate for yourself. But I found that to be another really useful tool for ideation and tracking progress, scheduling, and making sure that you're on top of all of your goals.
Yeah, nice.
So I got a question in terms of um, your the gear that you use to record. Um, what camera equipment are you using? Microphones, lights,
Yeah.
and how do you do that?
So this is something that I'm definitely stepping up my game with. Maybe not on the same level as you. I just saw a photo with what you're using before. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not on that level yet. But in the gym, if I'm filming content in the gym, I keep it simple. I'm using my iPhone to film, and I was second guessing myself, like, oh, maybe I should use a better quality camera. But like I know other influencers. I wouldn't call myself an influencer just yet, but I know influencers with 2 million followers who just use their iPhone. So when it comes to that, I just keep it simple, especially when you're in a public gym. You don't want to be fucking with this massive camera, bringing extra attention to yourself unless you've got the place booked out. So I might just keep it simple in the gym. Audio wise, when I'm doing that kind of content, I've got the DJI mic, which is very good. Highly recommend that. It's something that I bought actually when I was in PV, but
Yeah, I remember.
But then the whole, I don't know if you remember, but like I got taxed so heavily around that. All the import costs, it was crazy.
Right, yeah.
I bought it for like maybe 400 Australian dollars or something. But then I also got taxed import costs, $400. This guy, the delivery guy, came to my door and he was like, to get this, you got to pay 400 bucks. I'm like, what do you mean? I already paid. But anyway, I digress. So that's what I use. Great content. Great for my audio. I actually bought a Rode microphone. It is
the Wireless Go?
No, it's a Rode A1. It's what I'm using now, but this is more of a musical microphone.
Yep.
My brother's a musician, and I thought I'll just get what he's getting because it'll match if we do a podcast, and it's obviously a good quality, but it's a much more effort if you want to bring around the world. So I didn't bring this with me because it's got so many cables with it. So what I opted with instead as a much lighter version was these Rode USB mics. So they're a little bit shitty in terms of they just capture all the audio. But it's good for doing client check-ins when I'm speaking on camera instead of just using the MacBook Pro inbuilt microphone. I can have that, and then I can stand away and I can demonstrate things, and I can still pick me up with a good quality. So that's good for that purpose. But as soon as you do a podcast or anything, it's not good. So if I'm doing a podcast overseas or even here now, I don't really bother with the hectic setup. I just do the DJI mic, and so then you can actually just sit back a bit more, relax, and have it on you like a clip on, and that works really well in terms of the audio stuff. In terms of what I like to film things with, if I'm filming things here, like the camera that's on me now is a Sony ZV-E10, which is pretty basic, the starter camera, I would say. But honestly, it's just about learning the settings. And I've put it off so much in terms of just like, it's just one of those things. I don't want to learn the settings. But once I've tinkered around, I know the lighting a bit more now. I know it's hitting more than 0.3, then it's a bit too bright, and it's gonna make it grainy and all that kind of stuff. So I'm learning, I'm getting there. But that does the job. I need to learn a bit more about it. But what I find is it's also not great if you want to film. Now, if you want to film YouTube with the camera, you lose that stability. It becomes shaky. So sometimes an iPhone it's got the inbuilt stability with it. So sometimes an iPhone is just smoother. So what I'm going to try and combat that with, and what I've bought probably a year ago now, is a gimbal. But if you've ever played around with the gimbal, my God, is that an annoying thing to set up. So I've used it maybe once, not properly. So that's my task over the weekend because my brother's making a music video and I'm going to be his filmer for it. So
nice.
Using my Sony ZV-E10, but then putting the gimbal alongside that and hopefully that will smoothen it up a little bit. Otherwise it becomes a bit too rocky. And then I got a few tripods, just a standard Gear Kodo and then just a normal tripod for my camera as well. So like when I'm on the go around the world, trying to keep things as minimal as possible. Otherwise, it's just traveling with heavy stuff just sucks. So that's why I was interested when you said that. Is it that microphone there? Is it USB mic or the other one?
No, the other one. I think I have it around me. Maybe I could show it to you.
Yeah, because you can just you can just the cables are the most annoying thing. Having lots of big cables with you, you can just stick it into your laptop or wherever, and you can just go boom, ready to go. That's the best thing about it. And it's a condenser mic as well, is it?
So this.
That's a condenser.
This is
right?
this is a dynamic microphone.
Dynamic. Right.
Yeah. So a condenser microphone is usually like a shotgun microphone, or they're usually more sensitive.
Yeah.
So there are microphones that if you're standing far away or it's loud around you, they may pick that up. But also they're quite good if they're on top of a camera. Like right now I have a condenser mic on top of my camera. It's a shotgun mic pointing straight at me as a backup audio. But this being a dynamic microphone, it has a very close pickup pattern. So if I kind of talk behind or from the side, you don't really hear it.
Yeah.
And it requires higher power or higher input. So it has to be close to me or I have to be loud. These are actually traditionally used for instruments, actually.
Yeah, right.
This is a music microphone. And not necessarily for singing per se, but for like amplifiers.
Yeah, okay.
When you have like a really loud guitar amp and you want to pick up that like its entire like raw sound, you'd use one of these microphones. If you used a condenser, your gain would be at like 0.1 because it'd be very sensitive. So these are great for podcasts. That's why they've been reappropriated for that. But the microphone that I have, this is super popular one, the Shure. But the one that I have, it looks very, very similar. It's just kind of roughly the same size, but at the back it has USB-C.
Yeah.
And the XLR. So although it is a larger microphone in terms of portability, the quality is phenomenal. And I do like our coaching calls, our client meetings and all that stuff with that mic. And this is my buddy's. He just lent it to me and I really like the way that it sounds, so I use it for the podcast.
Does it pick up the other one? Does it pick up all sounds, or is it similar to that one where if you have to be speaking directly to it?
You have to be speaking directly to it.
Nice.
The cool thing about the other one is that when you plug in with the USB-C, it has a little like mute button, so you can mute, which is awesome. Especially, I have a mechanical keyboard, so when I'm typing, you can hear the keys. So if I'm on a call, just tap it, mute. It also has a gain volume knob at the back, so you can turn up the volume on the mic itself. And the coolest thing of all is that you can plug your headphones into the microphone and control the audio output as well. So in a way, it works as an interface that you just have to take that. Because like right now, I'm using an actual audio interface. This is the Audio Box Go. So I got to plug this mic into here, and then this into my computer, and then my headphones into this. So I got a whole kit, but it's not very practical for when you're out in the run or on the go, and you need to do all that. So
that's why on the go, just having like a portable microphone, like a DJI mic, Rode mic, they're the best bet. And then and then just a camera and a small tripod. That's probably the best way if you're on the go. Yes, having a nice camera can help be better, but if you want to keep it light, that's the best way to travel, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say more for like if you want that like studio quality and you have that studio environment, having a mirrorless camera or a camera like the one you're using now is definitely good.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the best camera is the most functional camera for what you're using it. If it's allowing you to create and record, that's the best camera to have. And like you said, phones now with the stabilization, the quality. Like it's really hard to kind of beat that when you are running and gunning, right?
But phones don't do it as well indoor setting. I find when you got a ring light on you, it's just not, the quality's not as good. You can definitely tell the difference.
Definitely, one of the main differences is the depth of field. you'll see, well, you can't see it now because we're on my computer webcam, but on the camera feed, I'm shooting at 2.8 aperture. So it's sharp and focused on me, but the background is nice and blurry. So it
Yeah.
gives it kind of like that aesthetic, which is hard to get on phones. But I know that the iPhone 13, 14, 15, they have the cinematic mode. So you're able to actually like shoot with a shallow depth of field and have that blurry effect. Though it's a mix of like AI with the camera itself, because the cameras on these phones, they're actually tiny, the sensors. So it's hard to get that that aesthetic with such a tiny little sensor compared to a like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. But yeah, like it's whatever camera works best for you is good. That's why I was curious, because you film a lot on the go. You're filming in the gym, you're filming in the grocery store, and the quality always looks pretty good, pretty sharp. And at the end of the day, if it's working for you, then that's the main thing,
Yeah.
right?
Bigger camera when it's indoors by yourself, and then more minimal when you're on the go. So you don't bring as much attention to yourself, essentially.
Yeah, I actually have a bit of a hot seat. Let's see if I can find those questions because I had them here. Oh God. Oh right, okay. Let me just pull those up
All good.
because get your opinion on it. All right.
Hot seat. Let's do it.
All right. Okay, teleprompters. Yes or no?
For long form content, yes. For like a 45-minute lean bulk masterclass, yes. But for a 30-second clip, nah.
I guess practicality overall, right?
So yeah, I mean, just big out. You can memorize stuff. You can learn lines pretty well for a 30-second minute clip. But if you're trying to film something for like close to an hour, yeah, you definitely need something to go with that teleprompter. But like, because I grew up like, I didn't grow up being in musicals, but I did a musical once in my life, and I was like 18 years old.
Okay.
And I had to memorize so many lines, so I know what we're capable of in terms of remembering stuff. So that's actually been pretty useful as of late. I'm like, yes, I read it, but if I just say it a few times out loud, I can get better at the way I'm delivering it. Don't have to be looking, my eyes don't have to be like this. I can actually be like normal. And the more like genuine you can be with it, the better I feel. Whereas before I was like trying to read and then my eyes are doing these ones and like, it doesn't look good.
I feel like it also helps with keeping the message authentic. I feel like the way that we write and the way that we speak is a little bit different. I write very formal because from 4 years of university and communications and political science and history, I learned to write very formal. In fact, a lot of my friends tell me like too formal. It's like if it feels like I'm either pissed off or being really serious, but I'm not. But when you speak, it kind of allows you to improvise as well. And if you're a professional or a master in your own niche in your own business, leveraging that definitely helps, right? To improvise.
Definitely, for sure.
All right. So new microphone or new camera? Which one would you go for?
I'm pretty content with my setup at the moment, just because I'm not utilizing my camera's best settings as it is now, so I don't know what a better camera is going to do. And then in terms of better microphone, I'm pretty happy with my DJI microphone. I don't think there's many. Maybe there is a better one on the market, but I honestly just think it's down to how you use it and the settings you have and optimizing those settings. So. Yeah, go on.
Let's say you had a shit one. You have a shit camera, you have a shit microphone. Which one would you upgrade first?
Camera.
Camera.
Just because.
Do you find that audio like has a a more of an impact, or which one do you think?
I feel like audio from actually yeah, audio because you can do as long as you have an iPhone or something
Mm.
solid like that. Then audio. I would actually take that back because yeah, I do stuff in supermarket, stuff in the gym with my iPhone, and that works fine. So yeah, I'd probably go audio on that one.
I don't mean to sway your answer. It's just,
No, you made a
you
good
know, like,
point.
like when you maybe or maybe not download a movie, and the audio is crap. It's just so much more harder to watch, even if it's like a recording from a movie theater. But even if it's a recording from a movie theater and have good audio, I can at least watch it myself. I just can't stand bad audio, especially like in reels. Like you did the one about protein, right? Like which protein
Yeah.
should you buy? You know, you can hear yourself really well, but I've seen some videos where people are explaining something and it's like what was that? I can almost hear like their environment more than the person.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
makes
yeah.
me just kind of like swipe away and like, I don't want to watch that.
No, so fair, so fair. I think yeah, definitely. But then also the same because that's what I was thinking of. If I'm watching again my Premier League that I watch football, and if it's buffering, if it's like grainy and it's on like 360p, I'm like, oh, this is the worst. I get so frustrated with the bad Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh. So I think yeah, as long as you've got visibly, you can see it clearly, and then yeah, the audio would make more sense in terms of being able to hear it.
Fair, yeah, yeah, I agree. Okay, natural light or artificial lighting for your videos?
Good question because I feel like natural light is much better, but it's dependent on the weather. This is the most annoying thing about Sydney, is that the weather is so bipolar. Like you just don't know what you're gonna get. Whereas in Mexico, you know it's gonna be sunny. you know in October, you know in September it's gonna be stormy. Like you know what to expect. You don't have to always check the weather forecast. Whereas here,
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit trickier. So even during this podcast, I can see that at times it's hitting, zero, but then it's hitting sometimes 0.7. It's going a bit brighter at times. So it can be a little bit up and down, but for a cleaner look, I feel like the natural light definitely works better. But if you can get your settings in a studio where you've got like artificial light, it can also look pretty clean, which I've done multiple times, which I do many times with my stuff.
Yeah, I definitely have to do it now because it's getting dark outside. So I got my two studio lights to light up the whole room, and it makes it look like daytime kind of, but out the window it's getting dark. But yeah, I think a mix of both. I love natural light, but also like direct sunlight could be very harsh.
Yeah.
So cloudy days are always great, right? To be able to aesthetically look aesthetic, right?
Yeah, depends on the
But yeah,
day.
changing weather makes it hard.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Okay, for microphones, lavalier mic, so one of those clip-on mics you put on your shirt, or a shotgun mic, the microphones that go on the camera. Which one would you pick?
I've never used a shotgun mic, so I'm actually yet to kind of really play around with that too much. But I know the lavalier clip-on, they're so easy and they're so good, and you can, if you're doing some sort of fitness challenge where you're running about, you're going a bit further away, you can still, it's going to pick you up. So for what I do, I haven't really, unless I'm just doing a vlog, then there's no real need for me to be having a shotgun mic. For what I do in the gyms and stuff, it's just easier having a clip-on.
Definitely. Yeah, they're very, very practical, and they make them so good now. Like I have I guess like a higher end professional like clip-on mic, but it's got the wire that goes down onto the transmitter, and then the receiver that goes on the camera is a little bit bulkier, but it can withstand longer distances and weather and whatnot. But the little clip-on ones, they make them so good now. You can even record. I'm not sure if in yours or not, but you can even record in the newer ones onto the microphone itself, which is really, really good as a backup.
Yeah, exactly. This is something I've recently started playing around with because we filmed something the other day. We were running around a field and you could just hear the Bluetooth disconnecting at one point. And they're like, it's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, we can actually just record into the mic. And I was like, the next video. So we lost that,
That's it.
lost the video, lost the sound in that one, but it'll be all right. Just put a song over the top. No one will notice.
Hire an editor or do the editing yourself / learn the editing yourself.
I would get some, I wouldn't do it myself. There's no way I'd go through that whole process myself. It's just doubling the amount of time that you're going to do it. I'm lucky that my business partner is doing the editing with me. So that kind of frees up a lot of my time. If I didn't have him, I would 100% get an editor. 100%. It's just going to be, you're going to have, I mean, you could learn it pretty good. Like I've edited plenty of stuff. I edit my YouTube videos, but I just know how time consuming it is. So if you're like just starting out and you've got zero money, then probably do it yourself for a bit. But then once you start getting some clients in the doors and you've actually got money to pay someone else, then go for it. You're going to save so much more time to be able to work on your business more rather than working in it. So 100% get someone where you can delegate and outsource, do so, because it's going to give you way more time to do what you should be doing.
100%, man. In my last podcast, I was having a chat with my friend who's a filmmaker, and he had a really good point that actually that made a lot of sense. And I've actually, now that I think about it, it reflects with clients that I've worked with. But having knowledge of editing your content, even if it's just a few videos, is very beneficial, because it'll help you create better videos, especially if you're going to give those to an editor. I've worked with clients that have never done the editing themselves, so they have no idea. Like maybe they'll click the stop record button too early, or they'll start talking and then click the record button, or their exposure or their framing is crap. And those are kind of things that you don't really think about from a practical standpoint when you're filming. But when you finally sit down, and that's the material you got, is the material you got when you're recording. When you sit down in the editing room and you're like, all right, let's make something with it. And you're like, my microphone is out of sync. My footage is blown out. I started recording too early or too late. And that's kind of like when you start realizing those things. And so I think having like a little bit of experience, a tiny, tiny bit, is super beneficial if you're going to hire someone, because it's going to make your content so much better. When you do give it to an editor, they're just going to have better content to edit.
For sure.
Right? Because there's two sides to the content. To editing it is basically the filming it and then the editing itself.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so this next one we kind of touched on earlier from your experience, but planning your content yourself or hiring an agency?
Again, I think it depends on where you are in your career. If you're just starting out, maybe you don't have the funds to do so. So, like when I started traveling the worldwide, you got a handful of clients to really have that disposable income then to the revenue coming in to then pay people to do it for you. So I learned how to do it myself. And as a consequence, I think that has then helped in terms of me being able to identify who I'm talking to, my clients, my niche a bit more. But then, as soon as you have that freedom, that flexibility in your schedule, not even in your schedule, in your bank balance and your business bank revenue, to then outsource that, again, like the more you can outsource, the more time you're going to have in your business. So I would 100% at the start, learning yourself, learning what you're about, what your business is about. Because ultimately, if I'd outsourced it from the very get-go, whether I'd be to this day talking about my niche being 25 to 35-year-old men, I don't know. Maybe they would have said, oh, you're going to be working with 40-year-old women. I was like, well, it's not really me. And so it depends on, but I think establishing that initially and knowing who you're talking to and what you're about. And then once you're at a point, once you've got some money to actually spend on people, then for sure, outsource that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the editing thing that we talked about. Maybe like at the beginning, it's not maybe, but for sure, it's good to do it yourself. That way, you can kind of find your voice.
Mm.
Um, if anything, maybe like finding some coaching and guidance to help you be in the right headspace to figure stuff out. But yeah, definitely at some point, it just becomes a lot of work, and there's a business to run, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right, I have one more hot seat question. What is your favorite platform to share content on, and why?
YouTube. YouTube. I feel like
YouTube.
it's a longer format. Yes, the editing process is a lot more difficult and takes more time, but the algorithms are good on YouTube. Like as long as you get a good thumbnail, like the thumbnails and titles become way more important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because once they click on that and they start watching you, and then if they like you, there's way more chance they're going to keep watching you. Whereas if they
Mm-hmm.
find you entertaining for a 20-second clip, I mean, they still don't really know anything about you apart from one thing that you might have provided value within that 20 seconds. So
Right.
YouTube is pretty it's pretty extraordinary in terms of what it allows people to kind of really know more about you, gain that trust, that long form media. But you know, I've been looking at like travel vlogs and stuff recently of people, and I honestly, I just yawn, and I just like, this is so boring. So many people's stuff. I'm like, yeah, you got a million views, but that's only because you're creating value in terms of what you're showing, but you're boring as heck. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm probably a little bit of the opposite right now. I'm trying to provide more value, but I'm like, I think at least like my content's a bit more like entertaining, and I'm just trying to be like one of the lads. But instead of
Mm-hmm.
this like proper like this is how you should do it, and this is very like I don't want to be like that robotic. I think it's boring. So I feel like yeah, YouTube you can just put across a lot more personality to it and be authentic. Whereas I think for reels, they're still good because they're quicker and they're easier, and you can stand out from the crowd pretty easily as well by doing good hooks. But I think that you also almost got to portray a certain version of yourself, a certain character within yourself. So, you know, at the start when I did that, I was very like trying to be very professional and upright, but it wasn't getting anywhere, especially being under a business brand. But then now I'm slowly learning to become myself within it, but it's still much harder to do so than a longer format. Even just speaking it in the podcast like this, if someone listens to this and they think, "Oh, I know Lenny much better now, and I
Mm.
just know what he's about, who he is, much more than his Instagram." Like everyone's
Yeah.
Instagram is just your highlights, and you're just trying to get attention real quick. But podcasts, you can really go behind the scenes and actually learn about the person and what they stand for, who they are, what they do, and everything like that. So definitely the longer form media, and I think YouTube is just that perfect mixture of entertaining and providing value. So yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree with you. The short form platforms tend to be more curated,
Mm.
and therefore,
Scripted.
yeah, like a little bit of a performance kind of put on,
Yep.
not
Not
intentionally, but also intentionally at the same time. Because like you only have like a 3 second window to
grab.
captivate an audience, right? So you are trying to put out your best work, but YouTube you get to be a little bit more of yourself, which is good.
Mm.
I actually had a couple more questions I missed here, but 3 pieces of equipment to jumpstart your online presence. What are the 3 essentials?
Tripod. A good tripod. I've mucked around with a flimsy, shitty one in the past. Go get yourself
Keyword good.
a good tripod, like one that actually can hold your phone. It's not going to lose pieces, and it's not like just shitty plasticky. You still get a plastic one that's good, but yeah, when it doesn't like screw in properly and it always goes down. Oh, I've mucked around with that for way too long, and then it just makes when you don't have the right gear, making content just becomes that much more difficult. So having a good tripod that you can actually just fold up, get out real quick, film something. Um, yeah, microphone like a DJI Rode, like clippable microphone on you, the portable one. And can I say something that's not a camera? Because the camera is not that essential. But what else? What other bits of gear would I use? A ring light. A ring light.
A light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got one just backlighting me now. But like, lamps are also good. If you've got natural light, then awesome. But you'll find times where there is no natural light. So definitely having something there is good. And as I said, like, yes, a camera can be good and it's definitely worthwhile to get, but a lot of the time your iPhone is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Definitely. Lighting, audio, and a tripod. Especially a good one, like you said. You don't want to be putting your $1,500 iPhone on something that's going to blow over and break it.
Oh man, I've had the first one that I got was so bad, and then the second one I got was a proper camera one, but I didn't have a camera yet. So I was like, had to get this like attachable mount. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had to get an attachable thing, but then the attachable thing was flimsy, and I just finally got myself a good tripod like last week, like a good adjustable one, and it's just made it so much easier to film stuff. Like, my God.
Oh, yeah.
My God. Yeah.
If you had any words of wisdom, lessons, or advice for an aspiring fitness coach out there that wants to jumpstart their online business, create content online, what would be like a couple takeaways things that you wish you knew when you started that could save you a lot of time, headache, and provide you some success?
Yeah, so the number one thing I would say to any coach aspiring to do it remotely is you've got to be good at your craft. Like, you've got to be able to get results, because if you don't get results, you're going to have nothing to market. Simple as that. So you actually, if someone comes through the door, you're going to have to be able to take them from A to B. That's the most importantly. Second one is the user experience. Can the user experience be good? Because then if their user experience is good and they get a result, then you get referrals. And then you might not even need to totally market yourself if you can get by with a few referrals and you've got like 20 online clients with just referrals by doing a good job of word of mouth. But then, C is, learning how to market yourself through social media, because you can't, I don't want to just purely rely on referrals, because you never know what kind of, not everyone refers. You get golden clients, you get the luck of the draw that refer you 3 people, and then you get people that don't. So it just depends on the person. So you definitely have to learn to market yourself, and you have to be willing to suck. And I think this is the same with anything in life. If you're not willing to suck, you're not willing to get good. You need to go through that shit period, whether it be learning how to dance, whether it be learning how to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whether it be learning to make content, whether it be learning to get jacked in the gym. Like, you got to be willing to be shit. And when you realize, honestly now, if I'm shit at something that I'm actually like got a passion behind, then I'm like, okay, this is actually going to be exciting, because every time that I turn up, I'm going to be less shit and then less shit.
Yeah.
And then by the 6 months later, I'm like, I'm starting to get all right at this. So definitely just, being prepared to be shit and then just working at it. But then also, I would seek help. Personally, I would seek help of someone who's already done this, who's already built a business like yourself. Like, yes, it might cost you a few grand to do it, something like that. I'm not sure what the costs are. We had a brief look at someone. We just didn't feel like we didn't have that trust. They broke the trust of mine, and I was like, it gave me a bad feeling. But that was already after like a year and a half of us doing it. If I was fresh on day one, rewind the clock 2.5, 3 years, whatever it is now, probably close to 3 years, then I would have seeked someone. I would have paid a lump sum of money to go, all right, teach me your processes, teach me what you do and how to get clients, your funnels, everything like that. But then lastly, be friends with people who are doing the same. The amount of people, online trainers, digital marketing agents out there in Bali, in places I would imagine like Playa del Carmen, Tulum, like where else in Lisbon, all these nomad hotspots in the world, when you go to these places, you're gonna make friends with people who are doing the same shit. And like one guy, good mate of mine now, good mate of mine now. I met him in Bali. He was an online coach as well, and he just shared. We're just hanging out. We're just hanging out as mates, and it's like just over lunch, over dinner, he's just talking to me about his systems. I'm like, oh shit, like that is solid. You got a different niche to mine, but I like that. And he's like, oh, I like the way that you do this. And then you just bounce off each other, and it's like, okay, well, that works, that doesn't work, and you just kind of learn from other people's experience. So definitely, yeah, like willing to suck, but also like willing to seek help from the professionals, or just making friends who will help you out as well. So, but not for that reason, but it's just it's a good coincidence that it helps you to learn.
Definitely having people you can bounce ideas off of, and some people just get you. They get what you're doing, and there's huge value in being around those people because they can elevate you, they can orient you, and there's a saying that like to not take advice from people that aren't doing what you want to do, right?
Yeah,
So if if you surround yourself with like-minded people, then I think it's a recipe for success for sure.
for sure, for sure. You just learn what the best bits they do and implement it.
Well, that's all I have in terms of questions. I appreciate you being so transparent and giving me the time to pick your brain. It's something that for a while I've been wanting to do, and just kind of peek into how you're able to be so consistent, deliver quality content for your audience, and grow your business. If what are your, I guess just as a last question that comes to mind is like, what are your goals this coming year, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Yeah. So in terms of following and content wise, I want to get to 10K following. It's been like that's my short term goal of what I want to get to. I think it's one of those things. You kind of like following grows like very slowly, and then you have one killer post, and then you go boom. So got to stumble upon that, and then so following wise, grow the following. 10K is the first goal. I want to get to 25 clients on myself. Nearly there, just around the corner. We do. What you're speaking about before, we have like our strategy is give some more, and then ask. Like we won't ask. We ask 4 times a year in 3 months. Every 3 months, we'll do an ask. So next ask in probably like 2 months' time now, I'm pretty confident I'll be there. And then when I get to that point, I'm going to go back to Bali to live. That's the plan. I think you're just around people who are doing the same shit. Whereas here, probably similar in PV, maybe less so than Bali, but in Sydney's very great. It's good, but yeah, I'm just like there's more out there. I have the travel bug still, so definitely getting out of my comfort zone there. But the goal is the short term goal is 25, which is just around the corner. But then 50 is the next goal from there. 50 clients, and then starting to kind of scale the business a little bit more as well. Still have me servicing the clients, but start to bring in some helpers as well, in terms of trainers who also have good experience under the belt. They can just help out systems and processes to make it it's a bit more seamless.
Awesome, man. I think those are some good goals, big goals, realistic goals, and I think if you just stay consistent with what you're doing and you continue to have the transparency and open mind that you've been having, I'm very confident you're going to be achieving them, man.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
For sure.
Appreciate it.